When I was 9 years old, I got diagnosed with asthma. I was visiting my grandma in St. George, Utah, and I actually live in St. George, Utah now. But we were visiting, and I just could not breathe. I was living in northern Utah at this point, and so I wasn't used to the allergies, or at least that's what I thought was going on with this. So I actually got taken to the emergency room. I got put on this little thing to breathe in some medicine to help me breathe better, and I felt fine. And then after I left St. George, I never really worried about it or thought about it again. But then I wasn't thinking about it until I kept having some of these issues when it was like allergy season. It was really interesting because I didn't have this issue before. I went to St. George. We blamed it on allergies, and then I went back home and started having problems. So I got actually diagnosed with asthma and got an inhaler. And there's something I was supposed to take every morning and every evening. And ever since being like, younger, like maybe 12, I kind of always had I was off put by medicine or taking things in general. Antidepressants didn't really help me with the things I was going through, and I just didn't necessarily want to put things into my body that weren't natural. I kind of had that intuition at a younger age. But the inhaler and the asthma was something that I just, didn't, that was so limiting that I had the inhaler with me everywhere. And so obviously I used it when I needed it and became reliant on it because, it makes sense, right? I needed help breathing. So I get, why I carried it around all the time. But that all changed when I started wrestling in high school. And again, asthma it would attack me almost any time, allergies or not, and I eventually started to just always have my inhaler on me. But it changed when I wrestled because I wasn't carrying it in my pocket while we were wrestling. I had it in the room, and when things got bad, I would use it. But the culture in wrestling is kind of interesting. I don't know about other wrestling teams, but at Stoke Canyon High School, where I wrestled, there was a little bit of this, and I don't think this was the coaches per se. It's just there's this competition, right? There's a bunch of boys, and they want to prove they're better than each other, and it's competitive. And so there's this little like unspoken sense, at least for me, that if someone was sitting out of practice because they were, too weak or not in shape or because it was too hard, you kind of lost respect. And if there were times I sat out, I know I was losing, people were not having as much respect for me, right? And so this started to get in my head a little bit. And so I made the choice to not use my inhaler during practice and just fight through it. And obviously, I think most people would be like, well, that's a terrible idea. What if you die, right? And yeah, that's something that crossed my mind. And it's not that I didn't bring my inhaler with me, but I hid it in my bag, and I would not use it. And what happened, it wasn't necessarily what I had planned on or thought was going to happen. My asthma just went away. Like after a couple months, I never had an asthma attack again. And I haven't used an inhaler in probably, I don't know, like 6 years, when I was so reliant on it for many years, ever since I was like 8 or 9. And I wasn't expecting this. I thought this was kind of interesting, and I soon forgot about my asthma or, just the past, because it's no longer applicable. And now I'm a runner, and I run 100-mile races, and I do not have issues with asthma or breathing hard in that sense, right? Like, obviously, if you're pushing yourself, there's the difficulty of your heart rate going up and you just exerting all your energy. But when it comes to like asthma symptoms, I don't have that. And someone had texted me about asthma the other day, and I was remembered about how I cured my asthma. And I'm going to use the word cured because I had it, official diagnosis, no longer have it. And maybe there's some other things I did that I wasn't aware of, but I think the biggest factor is the body is adaptable and it changes. And to what degree it's willing to adapt, I don't think we fully have that figured out yet. And I just got used to breathing hard, and I think my body compensated. I think it corrected itself. Like, that's the belief I have. And people can get on here and say, well, there's no proof, or where's the science for that? And I'll be honest, I don't think there is science on that. Like, I haven't seen anything about how people cure their asthma. Maybe there's something out there, but this is just, yes, an anecdotal story, but it's the truth. And I have thought about this since that text from someone about asthma, and just continuing to think about how our bodies adapt. And when you're pushed up against the wall, a lot of the times you'll change and get better, or again, just adapt to that situation. So is this a recommendation to not use your inhaler if you have asthma? I'm going to leave that up to you. My opinion is that you can get your body to a point where it'll change and adapt. And I fought through not being able to breathe very well in practice and slowing down so I wouldn't, get an asthma attack. And eventually, over time of me not using my inhaler and putting myself in difficult situations, I got rid of my asthma. So you do with that what you will. I think it's a pretty interesting thing, and it doesn't make sense that I had asthma and wasn't supposed to be able to run or exercise really hard, and now I'm doing some of the most extreme things someone can do on their own 2 feet. So that's my story on asthma, and maybe you get something from this, or you're just you understand that the body will adapt and change even if it has nothing to do with asthma. So I appreciate your time. I know it's valuable. Consider hitting that subscribe button. I make a lot of regular content on running, tips and tricks, workouts, things like that. And if you want to subscribe and see more of that, feel free. If not, that's cool too. I hope you got some value out of this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace!